Against all odds, magnetism is a particle. My name is Bhekuzulu Khumalo. I'm an individual traveling this journey of life like any other human being. Soon I will officially have shown that magnetism is both a particle and a wave, most likely using the same technique. Gravity can be proven to be both a particle and a wave. That is for later. I understand that I should be talking about white-collar crime in science. However, one will not understand the magnitude of this crime until they understand the journey to proving magnetism is a particle. But honestly, what did people think was coming out of a lodestone? The Greeks and Romans called it magic and did not bother with it. Indeed, why we call anything a magnet is because of a province in Greece where it was first talked about. The name of the province is known as Magnesia, and the original people of that province were known as Magnetes. Thus, when we say something is a magnet, it is named after a people thousands of years ago. At least the Chinese had a use for a magnet. They created a compass and didn't think it was magic. Until now, even scientists thought it was somehow magical. Then what did they think? They could not explain it. They could explain light, a photon. They could explain an electron, but it is the electromagnetic effect. They could not explain magnetism. We are scientists. We know that it is wrong to explain something as magic, or worse, to look at it and just ignore it because one believes it is too difficult. Yes, today's science has looked around the basic question, what is coming out of a lodestone? Is it a particle, a wave? If these basic questions cannot be answered, there is not much we can ever understand about magnetism at a quantum level. We reach a roadblock, just like gravity. All the basic questions around gravity must first be answered. Why ask the question, what is coming out of a lodestone? Well, back in 2004, I realized that what they call knowledge economy, they define the knowledge age as having started with the computer. Clearly, this is a gross misunderstanding of what knowledge is. Clearly, nobody had ever done an economic investigation into what knowledge is. Reading anything on knowledge economy will never allow one to fully understand what knowledge is. One must look at knowledge as a commodity and apply the logic of science behind it. Though economics is a social science, it does have some immensely powerful tools that allow something in economics, a commodity, to be analyzed with some scientific depth. This tool is statistics. People are required to understand the theoretical basis of statistics to be an economist. These are applied to whatever commodity one is looking into. These same statistical theories must be applied to knowledge. What is it in scientific terms? Not that art, philosophy that in knowledge economy gives to the world. Wishy-washy. How does anybody talk with confidence about obviously something they are not too sure about. Knowledge economy. We started using knowledge with the advent of the computer. And how did they build the pyramids, the Great Wall, the Taj Mahal, Stonehenge, Mesopotamia, Chichen Itza, or the 200,000-year-old city found in South Africa near the border with Mozambique? So I wrote a book called The Fundamental Theory of Knowledge. Now, before I got this book printed, I first went to a famous bookstore in Canada with its headquarters in Toronto. It's called Indigo Books, and spoke to one of their VPs. He assured me there would be some space for my book. Alas, he lied. These are people trying their own order, obviously against the conclusions of what studying knowledge as a commodity imply. Applying scientific principles to it would lead to, it is eventually why we know that magnetism is a particle. So I went to the bookshop at the University of Toronto. Universities are usually places one can put their books. One of the bosses there, some female with a Polish-sounding name, did not even bother to ask what the book is about. Her main questions were, what would I gain? She was more interested in what I would gain. Obviously, she was out there to stop certain people from gaining. That is your Western University. Make the judgment for yourself about their characteristics. You know what is going on there. Some white-collar crime. Some white-collar corruption. Understanding the mind of these liberals running the universities and the bookstores and the media, I decided, why not write a paper about knowledge? Turn that book into an academic paper. In 2006, the paper Fundamental Theory of Knowledge was published. Knowledge is consistent. Knowledge has a cause and effect factor. The limit of knowledge is gonke. You cannot know more than everything. And here's a quote from another paper. Point X is a point on the Mteto plane within the one dimension of the plane that is defined as the laws that govern the universe, or to be more precise, the laws that govern all existence. This is from a paper I wrote in 2007, Point X and the Economics of Knowledge. This branch of economics, Point X, can be the smallest amount of knowledge or the largest amount of knowledge, but it's all part of knowledge. Therefore, Point X must be discrete. But just as important, when one investigates knowledge and moves from point X to another point X, say X2, it is not known what they will find. Leading to knowledge acquisition is a random function. Who could know investigating knowledge would eventually lead to showing everything is in a relationship and that magnetism organizes itself into a wave. It's just following the evidence, randomness. What about time and knowledge? The less advanced countries, time moves faster. The more knowledge a society has, time moves slower. This completely agrees with Einstein and his relativity. Absolutely yes, knowledge can be studied scientifically, so we might as well continue. By 2016, after stopping for a while, well, you try and see how it's like when these are always breathing down your neck. In 2016, I wrote the paper, Why Economics is a Science. Information, the Grand Unifier. I realized officially that a package of knowledge is whole. It is discrete. There is no such thing as half knowledge. What you know is your information package. What is half knowledge? What is half of a fact? Those are just conveniences for layman's language. But in reality, knowledge is discrete. We are now understanding knowledge in ways so deep that is knowledge economics, the discipline I started. Those that read knowledge economy can never understand that knowledge is discrete. Their loss, but politics says they do not have to understand the properties of knowledge. By 2016, having developed knowledge economics, one could say knowledge economics allows us to understand that when it comes to discreteness of a package of information, isolation of a package of information, independence of a package of information, and consistency of a package of information, knowledge and information behave the same and have to behave the same because knowledge is information that we have extracted. Having understood that knowledge is just information one knows, before this paper in 2016, one had to understand what then is information. One read all sorts of philosophy books and articles on epistemology, but no definition of information had what I wanted. It must be discrete, can be isolated, is consistent. Except by chance, out of desperation, why I decided, let us try quantum mechanics. And there it was. Everything is information, originally developed by Wheeler, but I first made contact with this view of information from a video that featured Anthony Leggett, Leonard Susskind, Seth Lloyd, and Christopher Fuchs. Understanding that everything is information and knowledge is just information that we know. If all information has the same basic characteristics, the same as the basic characteristics of all knowledge, and luckily, having had a strong statistical background from economics, one could delve into the world of quantum mechanics. We now knew everything is in a relationship. It's all discrete. If this is so, what then is coming out of a lodestone? Can it really be so different from all other information packages? It must be discrete. It must be made of the same stuff. Anyhow, I decided to prove and settle the question of what is coming out of a lodestone once and for all. The only reason I could question